And
honestly, when I was named Times Magazine's 30 Under 30, I was in grade 12, I think. And it was right during the day of the Christmas gala that we always had downtown.
what is going on, everyone? We're back here with another episode of the Feature Podcast, and today we have a very special guest, Ann Makosinski, and she has a very large resume that we are going to talk about, including winner of Google Science Fair, being on Jimmy Fallon, Times and Forbes 30 Under 30, as well as a lot of your campaigns that you've done with Converse, with Uniqlo, and many more. So you're back in Victoria, and you're based out of New York right now, right?
Yes, I have moved to the Big Apple, much to my parents' chagrin, but I really love it there.
But yeah, we went to the same school since grade 4. We didn't have many classes because I stopped taking science after like grade 9 or 10.
Really? Can you do that?
I took geology because I didn't know how to do physics, didn't know how to do chemistry, didn't know how to do anything high school. But
I can't believe they offered geology as a science credit. That's literally just like looking at rocks.
It was, it was bad.
I should have taken it.
Yeah, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll go ahead and jump right into some of the wide range of topics that we can talk about.
I'm excited. Well, my name is Ann Makosinski. I am 22 years old. Oh, God, I'm so old. I'm from Victoria, British Columbia. I grew up here my whole life. I am an inventor. I do a lot of public speaking, even though you probably won't be able to tell because I probably won't enunciate that well during this. And what else to do? I'm currently developing a lot of TV shows and a line of children's toys that run off of green energy. And I am taking acting classes in New York. Or sorry, I'm supposed to say I'm studying acting in New York. So yeah, many, many things to talk about. But yeah, I've known Justin since grade 4, like he said. Oh my God, I remember once in grade 4, you were playing, or maybe it was grade 5, you guys would always play hockey outside of the classrooms during recess. And it's like very aggressive hockey, like 10-year-old boy hockey. And you slammed a puck into the window of Miss Reese's classroom.
Were you in that class?
Yeah.
Okay, because there was 2 classes, and one of them was facing the hockey side. And I remember, I think it might have been on my birthday or something, and I was just shooting around, and we would take a slap shot and it would hit. I mean, it was a big piece of glass. I don't know why nobody told us not to shoot that way. They probably didn't think a grade 4 kid could shoot that high because we were shooting there the whole time. And yeah, you guys had a big piece of cardboard for a couple weeks. And I think right after that one got fixed, we took another slap shot and it hit the art room,
really?
The small window. So it was the big window and the small window. And remember they bought nets afterwards so we wouldn't shoot that way?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. My God.
It was, those
Justin was so obsessed with hockey.
Yeah.
That's like everyone just identified Justin with hockey for so long. So crazy.
Canucks are on to round 2 though. Waited 9 years for it.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, what else? My gosh. What I remember from Justin also is whenever we had PE class, this started in junior school, but definitely went throughout middle school and high school. He would get so angry playing badminton that it was always so hilarious. I always enjoyed playing badminton with Justin because he got so into it and was like...
Wasn't very good though.
It wasn't very good, but neither of us were very good. I think we would both hit it super high and then the other person would like really struggle to hit it back. But yeah, we would get very emotional during badminton. Destroy
the racket. Teacher would come back from the bathroom and she'd be like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "It was an accident." And then quickly everybody kind of told her that it wasn't. But yeah, that was pretty much high school, middle school. You were probably way better at school than I was.
No. I mean, what's funny is I feel like I was a straight A student for junior school and middle school. Then when I got to later senior school, like grade 11 and 12, I started being gone a lot. And I also realized school is important, but what's more important is what you do outside of school because that's what's actually going to differentiate you from everyone else.
Yeah.
So then I started caring a little less about my grades, and definitely grade 12 I did skip a fair amount of classes. I've never said that.
You won
out
the
loud.
Google Science Fair, so I mean that's not a bad excuse to be gone. And then of course the school filmed a lot of videos, and that was a big thing.
Oh my God.
It 2014 or 2015?
It was, I think it was 2015. No, 2013. It was the beginning of grade 11, 2013, when I won at the Google Science Fair. And then I won at all these other Intel Science Fair things as well later in grade 11 and grade 12. And then school was like, "Ann used our labs." And I was like, "I've literally never, ever used your labs."
Whereas whenever I left school I think I lined up for the iPhone in grade 11 to miss school, and Miss Skinner comes back from class, didn't finish the homework, got completely destroyed. But at least you had a good reason to be gone.
So did you. So did you.
Really.
Look at you now.
It was delayed gratification. At the time, it looked like a really bad excuse. But I guess like in the future, some people, it trickles down a little bit to the school. I've been to school a couple times since then, but not really anything much. But what is the Google Science for people who don't know? I know it's like one of the biggest science fairs in the world for that age group.
Yes, it is. So it's called the Google Science Fair. It's run by Google, and basically they started it, I think, in 2011. I could be wrong. It was only like the third year in, I think, when I competed in 2013. And anyone from around the world, so they literally got like tens of thousands of submissions, and then they would narrow it down. Back in my day, they would narrow it down to 90 regional finalists around the world, and then they would pick 15 kids from 3 different age categories. I think it was like ages 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, something like that, to actually go to the Google headquarters in Mountain View and compete. And I actually, when they were announcing the 15 finalists, I turned my webcam on and I recorded my reaction just in case I won. I still have it on my computer, but it was a very big surprise. I didn't even know what to expect. And then after that got announced that I was the only person from Canada going, this very embarrassing video of me talking about the flashlight that I had submitted as part of my submission for the fair went viral. And then I started getting all this media attention, blah, blah, blah. And like, I didn't have any training in media. You kind of just have to like learn on the fly. I mean, there are definitely like people who train you and like, this is how you talk in an interview, blah, blah, blah. But for me, I was just kind of like, okay, I gotta do this now. And I definitely sounded quite naive in my early talks and interviews, but I feel like I've slowly this past year or two become a little more comfortable with myself, even though I still hate watching any interview that I do, because I'm like, ugh, so embarrassing.
I mean, you do a lot of speaking, and there's also like the TED Talk about like the smartphones and everything. But on the topic of like the Google Science Fair, I remember they announced it at Assembly in 24, and that was huge because Google obviously is one of the biggest companies in the world. So what was for people who are watching for the first time, and we might roll the B-roll as well of like the product and the reaction.
Yeah, sorry.
But what was the product or the winning item?
My invention that year, because I've been doing science fairs since grade 6, so I wasn't new. I ended up doing 10 different science fairs between grade 6 to grade 12, which is why I missed every single out trip except one.
I missed all them as well, so
really?
I don't really remember. I used to pick the ones that were local because it was always during the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
And in grade 8, what happened was the Canucks made it to the finals. And I was on a remote island and we had no TV. So we were on a windy radio listening to the whole game. And we used to like give people snacks in exchange for winding it for a few hours. And then on the day of the game, it was out of power anyway. So yeah, the out trips, they were mandatory, but you can kind of, if you're lucky, you can get out of them.
You could get out of them. The one out trip I remember that I did do in grade 8 was this like partially surfing out trip, and I remember being so traumatized because like I could not see anything without my glasses. I'm so blind without them, and you can't wear glasses when you go surfing. And it was just like horrifying to go into the water blind without knowing how to surf in the first place. Anyways, and obviously there was like no one in my social group on the out trip because it was like all the cool people who actually knew how to surf, and it was just like me being a nerd being like, hello.
Ours was everybody who didn't want to go on an out trip.
So did you go to Eco Village?
Grade, I think they made us all go, and it was the grades above us always told us how bad the trip
Eco
was going
Village
to be.
was.
And even the grade 5 trips, for people who remember Camp Pringle, people were saying it sucks, like you're not going to like it.
I had such drama during Camp Pringle in grade 5. I don't know, I think it was grade 6 or 7 that we went to Camp Pringle, or there was another Camp Thunderbird.
I left early.
You left it early?
I called my parents and said I was sick because after the first day, do you remember I used to eat like 5 rounds at Brown Hall? Like I was always hungry, but I was really short. So they would only give you like certain amount of food, and I was like starving, and I hated sleeping in the cabin. Didn't like going to the washroom outside, so I called my parents on the first day, and I was like I'm sick. So they drive all the way to Souk to pick me up, and I'm just coming back home, just chilling for the next 5 days.
That's amazing. I wish I'd done that. My drama during Camp Thunderbird in grade 6 or 7 was like, I had told Amita, who had told David, who I currently liked at that time, that I thought he was being too bossy or something. And then he got really mad. And then I got really mad at Amita for telling him. And I was like crying, and there was like so much drama, but it's like so stupid. But it feels so big when you're in middle school or high school, the drama that happened, the drama, because that is your whole world. I mean, like, yes, school is going on, but especially in high school, it was all like, school is going on. And yes, I have all these science stuff now, but boys, you know, so that was at least my experience.
It was like a decade ago when we think about it.
Yeah, I feel so... No, it was 5 years. 5 years. But 5 years since we graduated. This was our 5th year anniversary, actually. Yeah. But Thunderbird, 10 years... I think was... 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 10 years ago. So that's kind of crazy to think about. So did you like you started inventing, was it in middle school? And then did you submit different products into different science fairs, or was it the flashlight that you submitted into all of them? And
basically, I was always doing science fair projects that were in the area of alternative energy harvesting, which is harvesting energy that's always around us, but we don't necessarily take advantage of all the time. So that's like, solar cells are pretty common now, but also like kinetic energy or thermoelectricity, which is what I was using the flashlights on. And so basically when I was 14, my friend in the Philippines, because I'm half Filipino, so I just like have friends there from the trips I've gone, she wrote to me from like an internet cafe and told me like, I don't have any electricity at home, so I have no light to study with at night, and I like failed my grade. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so like lucky to grow up so privileged over here where I just like flip on the light switch and I totally take it for granted. Is there something I could do for her to help her situation? So I decided to make some sort of light source that wouldn't require any batteries. And I ended up creating the hollow flashlight, which is a flashlight that runs off the heat of the human hand using Peltier tiles. And so I did that project. I brought it to the local Vancouver Island, the regional science fair, like the one at UVic that they do every year, because I'd always been going to that. And previously in grades 9 and 10, I'd also qualified to go to the Canada-wide science fair. And that was like a really eye-opening experience for me to realize, hey, there are all these kids out there who are also like super interested in like doing their own thing outside of school and like making something they're passionate about, basically. Anyway, so I presented the flashlight at the local science fair, got second place, and then went to the Canada-wide science fair with that. Oh wait, did I? I did. And then I forgot. No, I did. Sorry. Oh my God. And then from there, I heard about the Google Science Fair. I think someone at SMU told me, actually. Like the photographer there or someone. And then I forgot about it, of course. And then night of the deadline, I was like, oh my God, Google Science Fair. So I like applied really last minute and filmed this really last minute video that I had to do. And yeah, that was kind of it.
And the rest is history.
No, not that cool yet. And yeah, and then in grade 12, I also did another science fair project that I brought to the Intel Engineering Science Fair, which that year, I think it took place in Pittsburgh or LA. There was one in LA and one in Pittsburgh that I went to. And for that, I created the e-drink, which is a coffee mug that harvests the excess heat of your hot drink and converts it into electricity. So eventually, if you drink a lot of coffee, you could give your phone a boost of energy. It's not really commercially viable at this point because of the efficiency of the Peltier tiles that I use to harvest the electricity is like really less than 10% efficient. It's just like not great.
Is it like lost energy when it's trying to capture it? Or
yeah,
I know nothing about science.
No. It's basically like, you know, when you boil water, it's like over 100 degrees Celsius or whatever. And then you have to wait a while for it to actually be a drinkable temperature. So I was going to capture that lost heat energy while you're waiting for it to dissipate so you can drink it, and then convert that temperature differential between the hot side of the Peltier tile and the cool side of the table to produce electricity. Basically, I should have explained, Peltier tiles are ceramic tiles that have junctions of two dissimilar metals in it, like bismuth and telluride. And there's many, many, many tiny junctions of them inside these small, like usually like 40 millimeter tiles. And when you heat one side of these Peltier tiles and you cool the other, you look like you're just lost.
I like sort of researched it, like how like so both products were based on the Peltier
tile technology.
and what it does is it takes heat, whether it's like a liquid source or it's from human heat, and turns it into energy, and you can decide if it's like energy for lighting, which is usually low wattage, and versus a phone where it's a little bit, it's going to take a lot more to charge.
Yeah. So basically, you heat one side of these tiles, you cool the other side, and it's that temperature differential that so that produces a small amount of electric charge. You run it through a circuit, and then you can get a usable amount of light. So it's really working with very low energy. So that's why it's not like really in a lot of like, there's no like phone case where you hold it and it charges your phone, because that's just not scientifically possible right now. Hopefully in the future, we'll have improved the tiles efficiency and they can be implemented in many things.
So it just has like a lot of variables because it needs the differential. So if you're in an area where the ambient heat is hot and then the harvested energy is much lower. Yeah.
So basically, the greater the temperature differential between the hot side and the cold side, the more energy you will produce. And
like when compared to solar panels, what's like the level of harvest of say the
solar panels are definitely better. Sorry, I just touched the mic. I'm not trying to make out with the mic. Peltier tiles, unless you're putting it on like a fire, like a cooking like fire out camping, you're not going to get a huge amount of electricity, which is why it's been very difficult to previously get it on the market in the form of a flashlight. And I instead realized, oh my God, all these kids and all these parents are writing to me wanting to build a flashlight. So why don't I make a line of children's toys implementing my patented technology in that? Because that just makes so much more sense.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things I wanted to talk about as well, because over the years you were mentioning like which directions you want to go with. And obviously there's, after all the publicity of the product and that it's a good product on its own, there's a lot of options out there. You can decide to find a manufacturer, you can license it. And a lot of times people will license stuff just because you hand it off, you get your royalties, and you don't really have to stay with it anymore, but you also don't know where the product's going to go in the future. So how many years has it been since you've applied for a patent, and what are some of the ideas that you're allowed to talk about within, like, say, the flashlight that you've gone through over the years, whether it was making it a commercial product that is sold in stores, and now the direction of a kid's toy that they can build and use at home? Yeah.
So getting a patent is not fun. I've actually cried on the phone with my patent examiner multiple times. No, maybe just once. It's a lot of money and a lot of time, and it takes years to get, but I'm very happy to finally have the patented technology for the flashlight. And I also tried to get a patent for the e-drink, which I think I got, but I had to really alter it from the original application, which kind of sucked. Right now, so basically after high school, I started getting some offers from different companies or entrepreneurs who wanted to license the flashlight or put it on the market. But I was very naive at the time, and I'm really glad I didn't go with any of those people, because I just didn't know enough about the entrepreneur world, and I thought that everyone had like good vibes for me, or that they wanted to really help me, when really they were trying to take advantage of the fact that I didn't know anything about business. So I ended up not really going with any of those people, which I'm very happy about now that we found the perfect fit. We're working with this guy named Matt, based out of Toronto, and he comes from both the children's toy world and the children's TV world. So that's been really great, because we are working with him to develop a whole bunch of TV shows and maybe movie or like reality TV show ideas. And then also this line of children's toys. A lot of them use my flashlight technology, solar energy, kinetic energy, hydroelectricity. And then some are not energy related, but they're related to electronics. I can't say too much, because like different toy companies right now are like evaluating to see if they want to take on the toys, which, knock on wood, I hope so. So that's happening. And then at the other hand, there's these past few weeks only, I've just started pitching to different TV companies and networks all these different ideas that I've been working so hard on for so long. So hopefully someone takes one, but I'm really, really excited. I've always wanted to get into film. I think you and I were part of the film club in grade 9, which like did not exist. It was just like we met once and then nothing happened.
It was just like sitting around in the library, and they would have the cameras, and in the start of the basketball game, there's like go film that or something. And we just show up with a giant tripod and just hit record. There was like no settings.
There was nothing.
But you definitely came from a more experienced film background than I did, because your dad's a videographer. Yeah.
I mean, my dad would, this is so crazy. Our junior school, every other grade 5 year would put on a full opera. And we were in that. We were in the Magic Flute. I was just rewatching.
Do you remember your line?
No.
I had 2 words the whole thing.
Really?
The whole thing. I was like, I might have been a peasant or a villager.
A peasant.
Or something. I remember I was wearing like a potato sack.
Yeah.
And I came on the stage for 5 seconds. And
what did you say?
Such bravery. And then that was it. I was in like
such
the background.
bravery.
And then the rest of the time I was just causing trouble in the back room and like getting in fights with people. And,
I love that.
And the grade 4 teacher would come over and give me a good chat because I wasn't doing anything, but I was causing trouble.
Yeah.
The Magic Flute was.
The Magic Flute was fire. Actually, the flute on stage used was my flute.
Really?
That Graham used. Anyways, so every other year our school did this grade 5 opera. After my dad saw ours, which he filmed with his friends, he was like, oh my God, like we need to make a documentary about the making of a choir teacher translating a full opera from Italian, French to child version, cutting it down, and then directing all these kids who have absolutely no experience in putting on an opera on like a full out nice stage downtown. So I started helping him film these while I was growing up throughout middle school and high school. And then also he was just filming a lot of different projects that I would help with. So I kind of grew up in that space. And then we also took care of like old film reel archives of Ravi Shankar, who was this Indian musician. So every summer we would go and I would like smell the old film reels looking for acidosis and like all these things. So I just kind of grew up. And then also I was raised on silent films. Actually, my very first film was a sound film, but it was a Russian propaganda film from 1939 called Alexander Nevsky. And I became obsessed with this Russian knight, and I dressed up for him in kindergarten, and like nobody knew who I was, of course. But I just was so enamored with film and old movie stars. In grade 6, I also renamed myself Ann because I was obsessed with Harry Houdini the Magician.
Was your Twitter handle or Instagram handle was that?
Yeah. I made it Andini for a while. And then I can tell who doesn't know me well because they call me Andini and they think my real name is Andini. And I'm like, no. But like, it's fine. It's like, I still I have like Ann and then in brackets Andini now, Makosinski on my whatever social media stuff. But I was always obsessed. And then like, I think grade 7, I was obsessed with the dance. You don't know who any of these people are. I was obsessed with the dancers, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. So I renamed myself Ann Astaire because of Fred Astaire. And then I was obsessed with, all these different people. So I always knew, like, did you ever keep a diary? No, definitely not. Well, I don't know.
We don't even back up our video footage.
You have video diaries. Diaries. I used to keep a copious amount of diary entries and diaries growing up, and I always wrote I wanted to be a film director, I want to be an actress or something. So I always knew I wanted to be involved in that space. And then all the science stuff hit all of a sudden, and I was like, oh, well, I guess everyone thinks I'm really good at science, so I should be an engineer now. And my parents definitely wanted me to do engineering. And then I realized as I was getting out of grade 12 that like, hey, I don't want to give up my love for art, but I don't want to give up my love for science either. So I ended up taking a degree in English literature at UBC. And then I was doing all my public speaking and inventing and getting patents and business stuff outside of school.
Yeah. So you kind of, you took the science and you brought it together with film even, because I know you started doing YouTube videos and you used to tell me you were like the biggest Casey Neistat fan. You're like, I'll do anything to meet Casey.
I met Casey.
Yeah, at 368.
Yeah, for Thanksgiving.
And yeah, you started doing some YouTube vlogs and because you were traveling a lot. And I feel like a lot of times that makes sense. Like even if your purpose of travel is to go to different science fairs or to attend a TV or a keynote speaker kind of thing, you're in a great destination. You have a lot to say, and each trip is just very different. And I imagine you spent more time in each spot than I did. Well,
I only spent usually 2 or 3 days in most
that's the same as us. Then.
Yeah. But what I found interesting vlogging is whatever I would film, I'd be very unhappy with because it's not what I saw in my mind. So recently, I don't know, I vlogged a lot. Okay, look, I actually started vlogging back in grade 11. or 10, but I was not allowed to post anything because my parents were like, no, you will regret anything you post in high school. Like, that's not allowed. You're maybe a different case though, because you're actually like making things with substance.
I had a different name on YouTube because my parents were like, you're not allowed to show your face and you're not allowed to
Really?
use your real name.
What was your name on it? It was Apple?
Jeremy. It was Jeremy97.
Oh, Jeremy.
And even on Use Victoria and Craigslist, when I used to try to like buy stuff and sell stuff on there, it was always Jeremy. So I still have the email address for that. And eventually I started showing my face, which is very embarrassing to look back at now. But going back to the diary thing, I deleted all my old videos. So I have no record of about 300 videos now. They're permanently deleted off the internet.
Okay.
So I kind of wish that some of the old ones there, I still have the first one. But it was kind of in like the middle phase when I was like 16 or 17 that I was like, these videos need to go. And instead of making them private, I deleted all them, but I still remember to keep the first one. So I don't know why I didn't just keep the other ones.
Yeah. I definitely have uploaded a lot, and then I've made a lot private recently because I was like, oh my God, nobody should watch that. Why did I do that? And I still feel that about a lot of videos that are up, but they're also like really close memories for me to look back on and be like, oh, I remember when I was there. And then after a while, traveling and vlogging got a little tiring. And I was also like, if I'm going to film while I'm traveling, I want like a proper video crew. Like I want a cameraman, soundman, lighting, and then come on, let's follow me and do that. Because that just felt more of the quality that I wanted. And I, like Casey and I said, vlogging all by himself, that's great. But if you like think about the amount of work that takes, it's a lot of energy.
It's a lot of technical headspace of like just like basic camera settings that don't really contribute to the content itself, but is also very important. I think that totally makes sense in terms of you want to just be able to do what you were normally doing and not have to think about, is the camera rolling, is the audio rolling, is the ISO set properly, is the frame rate set properly, or the camera's getting a little bit heavy, or are we allowed here? You like someone else who's able to just focus on the technical. The hardest part is finding someone that can do that you can trust completely. Like that you don't even have to check on it. It's going to be good every time. But
yeah, totally. So like I'm not going to become a YouTuber. Let me say that right way, because like I just don't have the dedication to do what you do. So I literally upload once every few months when I feel like it. I started doing this series called Analysis, where I would analyze an old film and really take it apart, which I really loved making. But the editing of like going through a film that I'd watch, editing all the parts and the shots and then inserting it into what I was describing was like way too much work. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to appreciate the film for me by myself in silence. Maybe talk about it on my Instagram story or whatever. But, it's just like that's not my career path right now. Maybe later on. But right now I'm just like, I have so many other things to focus on. It's like,
for sure.
Crazy.
And like on the topic of film and everything, we also can't forget how you've done a lot of great commercials in like the film side of things, like actual productions. Like our commercials are like the 30-second shout outs on the videos. Yours are like actual like huge ones, and just to name a few, and you can add to the list as well because I'm sure there's many more that I'm missing. But you did a Converse commercial with Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
Was it filmed at her house?
It was filmed at her place in Malibu, which unfortunately burned down during the fires. I'm so upset because right before we started filming, they like did my hair and makeup. I looked great, blah, blah. And then they said like, get in the pool. So I was like, okay, because like Miley jumps out of this screen into her pool and like we're pretending to have a party in silence because like there's no actual music playing. And they put me in this floaty ring. The director put me in this ring, and I was like trying to push myself up so I could be like seen a bit more right before we started shooting. And I ended up flipping over because I just completely lost balance because like I can't swim, obviously. And I like all my hair and makeup was like completely gone before we even started shooting. But it was great. I borrowed Miley Cyrus's bikini. We have the same boob size. She was so sweet. I really have just always. I don't know why. I just always have really loved her vibe. I think she's just like super comfortable with herself and projects and puts out there whatever she wants. And like, I wish I could do that more. I wish I was that brave to do all that stuff. But yeah, that was really fun. And then I also did a Uniqlo campaign where I was like the face of their fleece because their heat technology is similar to my flashlight. And that was really, really fun to shoot. The director was so great. I've still kept in touch with him. And yeah, I've done like a bunch of, I did one for Lenovo back in the day.
Was it a laptop or
It was like this touch. I don't even know where it is. It was like a tablet.
2-in-1?
Yeah, 2-in-1, and it had a projector on it.
Really?
It had a projector, so I used it a little bit, and then I don't know. I don't even know where that is in the house. And then obviously I worked with Google for their Google Pixel. I did this whole ad thing with them where we shot it on the Pixel. And then also with Vice, it was like a partnership thing. And I might have an ad coming up. I'm not sure yet though, so fingers crossed.
Do you still use the Pixel? Because you actually use a lot of the stuff that like we always go back to Apple, but I remember you mentioned you were using the Chromebook, and then you're asking about the Pixel.
Noah
as well.
still has my Chromebook.
I'm sure Google will give you another one.
But I was using the Pixel, yes, for quite a long time. And then, this is so stupid, people wouldn't want to text me on the Pixel because they would get a green bubble.
That's why I use Instagram when I message you. I literally I only have one person in the entire list that uses Android.
Really?
And it's the project manager for the renovation, so I kind of have to text him.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a weird thing, like, because I stopped using Facebook almost entirely. Instagram has kind of replaced everything. I don't even use Snapchat. I deleted it.
Are you on TikTok?
I watch it, but I don't make it. I made a couple and they tanked. So
yeah, I tried, and then I was like, the only video that actually got some attention was me talking to my cat, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life.
You never know what's going to do well on TikTok.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I put on there was like stuff that I probably thought was funny, but clearly nobody else thought it was that funny. I'm not doing any dancing or any of that stuff. It was just like funny videos that might have been from Instagram stories or from trips, or like some of them are like behind the scenes of a Google event that I thought about making, but it's just too many platforms to manage. Like there's
too many.
Instagram, and then Instagram, it's like vertical stories and photos, and then Twitter wants like horizontal, YouTube is video medium, and then you have your thumbnails. I honestly want to have less platforms to have to manage. That way, at least like you're not recording everything. Because I personally don't love documenting everything.
Oh no, same, definitely. It's just like too much to handle for sure.
Yeah.
I feel behind though. Like, should I be on TikTok? Should I be on all these things? And then I'm also like, it's not my career path. It's not what I see myself. You know, if you're a girl on TikTok, it's way easier to go viral. Well, you just like dance a bit with your stomach showing, and then you're good. Yeah, YouTube too, probably. But yeah, I to go back to our point about the Pixel, I was using the Pixel until this summer. I got an iPhone, but I'm thinking about going back to the Pixel quite soon.
Google, if you're watching this, she wants the Pixel 5.
I need to return. Yes, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I've done a range of commercials and ads or like sponsored stuff, which has been an interesting process for sure, just to learn about all the behind the scenes.
I haven't seen like what it's like to be actually on set. Like, and we see some of it, but I think like the commercials that you're doing are the ones that are on like national and international TV.
Yeah, I mean, not like
social.
right now. Oh my God, I just touched this. No, I did one for 5 Star back in the day that Kobe was in. Like, I pulled Kobe in to do it.
It's
Kobe's
cool,
our
though,
classmate.
Like, it's like because there's like the science side, and a lot of times like when you look at the educational and science side, it's hard to find someone who is extremely good at science but also has like the TV personality.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I'll tell you, like, I've been proposed so many times by like huge networks. We want to do a show about smart kids and profiling them. But A, they're really hard to find because most of them aren't on social media. And B, most of them are not great or like interesting to watch on camera. Like, it's just hard to find someone who can sound, because when you're on camera, you need another level of excitement. Yeah. Like, maybe, I don't know, this is what I find. I don't have that level of excitement. Yeah, but I find like I want to keep the audience entertained to some respect, but also get my points across. Yeah. I know I'm gesturing all of a sudden. So I do go up a level in energy, but it's still myself for sure. But yeah, it's just been hard. Like, nobody's been able to make this show still because it's just hard to find smart kids. I mean, there definitely are, and I have a lot of friends that are so great on being on camera, but it's still, you know, it's difficult to build a whole show around finding kids like this. But
it is cool, like, to be able to do like all this kind of stuff, because like a lot of the times the commercials alone are a career of its own. So there's like, you gotta do a little bit of film that you mentioned you enjoyed as a kid, but also continue with science, and the whole marketability of like the commercials are based around inventions, but also the fact that you can naturally appear on camera, and I think that's super cool to see. On the topic of smartphones, you were talking about the Pixel 5, and I wanted to talk about this topic before we go too far into something else. But
Are they your sponsor?
You did do a TED Talk. I wish Apple was my sponsor, but you did do a TED Talk about how you didn't have a phone for quite a while. And I remember you used to mention that you didn't have Wi-Fi after a certain time of day. So I was like, we're kind of polar opposite in that aspect. Well, I was pretty late to get a phone as well, which is weird because nowadays we don't want to review any more phones. Like we're like just putting them aside. Like we don't want to see another phone. They're all the same.
Yeah.
So I'm someone who's always on my phone. Like my average screen on time is about 10 to 13 hours. And then I'm on the computer for another 10 to 12 hours for the most time.
Oh my God.
And the Wi-Fi's up. Sometimes watching TikToks at 2 or 3 in the morning kind of thing.
Me too.
So
well, actually I can't. My Wi-Fi at home in Victoria does turn off at 1 a.m. It still does. It used to be 11 p.m.
It used to be 9, I think.
Or 9, yeah. It used to be, especially in high school. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's funny. But how long did you not have a phone for at all, like no smartphone kind of thing? And what was kind of the philosophy behind that? There
was no philosophy. It was my parents going, no, you are not allowed a phone because it will damage your brain and your brain cells and distract you, which is all true. But yeah, I mean, I did not have a phone in high school, and then also like first year university, I started traveling way more. And I remember like going to Vienna to get this award and trying to like use a physical map to get to a museum and getting totally lost. And I was like, okay, Google Maps would be so great right now.
So you went to Vienna without a phone? Without
a phone. I would travel a lot without a phone.
Really?
And I don't know why my parents are definitely like, even now in New York, I have to check in with my parents every single night.
My mom has a location tracker on me, but
my mom doesn't even know what that is.
Every time she asks, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sitting at home. Like nothing changed." That kind of thing.
For sure. But so I definitely was like, okay, I need to start traveling with a phone. Justin's texting.
Sorry, agent telling me to do something.
It's important things to do. But yeah, so I was like, I need a phone. So I actually got a flip phone right before, I forgot about this. I think right before I left for first year uni, because I was going to Vancouver, so I wouldn't be like home in Victoria. My parents were like, do you want to get a phone? And I was like, okay. So you went to London Drugs. I got like a weird, like not even Apple, like a weird cheap touchscreen phone. And then we were driving away and I was like, Dad, wait, stop. I want a flip phone. So we actually turned back and I returned it for a flip phone, which I painted like pink sparkly with nail polish. So it looks like it was from the 2000s. It's actually kind of cool.
And what year was that?
That was first year, right before I left for first year uni.
So that's 2016. That was only 4 years ago then.
Yeah. And then I think it was second year university. When I turned 18. Oh my God, how old? No, 17. Yeah,
You would have been
19. When I turned 19, I went and got some iPhone, like iPhone 6 or something. And that was my first time I had a SIM card in a phone that I could use with data, because you can't really use Google Maps on a flip phone. And that was definitely a changing point for me. Before that, I had used like an iPod Touch, like a really old one. So
the iPod back then was a lot of fun. Like that was how I got into tech in general. But when I grew up, I wasn't really into tech. Like if anybody knew me from grade 4, I was never the tech guy. In elementary school, everybody had like these like the Wii and whatever that stuff. I remember
people in grade 5 had those like iPod Nanos with the screen.
Yeah, I mean private school people did have things much earlier. And nowadays even younger. Like people who are 9 years old have phones. But crazy. Like people had smartphones in, I'd say the start of middle school is when the smartphone revolution.
Start of middle school?
Yeah, it was like kind of the revolution of smartphones and data, and anybody who had data was like, well, you're rich.
Which was most of our school.
Yeah, which is good for selling stuff to people in high school. But I didn't have. We might be the 2 last people in that grade
to actually get a phone.
Because I had a flip phone.
Yeah, you did. Oh, okay.
I had the flip phone in grade 10 or 11, and it would only call my mom, my dad, and the house.
Oh, it was one of those.
It was a 3-number plan.
My friend had
couldn't
a phone
text
like
at
that.
all. If I texted, it was going to cost them more than the phone's worth.
Yeah.
But so I think after that, I had an iPod, and that was like where I did all my emails.
Yeah.
So I always needed Wi-Fi. And
me too.
Yeah. And so the
Wow,
iPod
I
was the
didn't
main
know
hub.
you got a phone so late. We were both like the last people to get
I
phones.
was really,
in our grade.
really late. And I didn't have texting until possibly grade 12, and I didn't have data until it might have been grade 12 or university. It was like 100 megs a month. So I remember when we used to go on the family trips, like say on a cruise for 14 days, I would have like just zero. I would come back and check all the YouTube emails.
Yeah.
Back then. So yeah,
Damn.
it was no phone, and then it was just like one thing in each pocket. And then I think towards the end of high school, I started reviewing phones a lot. And then at some point, I used to be 24 phones in a backpack, and anybody who wanted to get a new phone would come and play with some of them and see which one's which, and
Wow.
and that sort of thing. But I remember being very late. I was just like, everybody else has a phone now, and I remember
It was so unfair. I was so
Yeah.
upset at my parents for sure.
Yeah, data is definitely a luxury now that that gets
Were your
that we
parents?
take-
Yeah. Were your parents pretty? Sorry, I just go. What were you saying?
Oh no, it's just like something that we take for granted. Like nowadays, 30 to 50 gigs of data is normal, but back then, 100 megs a month. Nowadays, if you load an Instagram photo, your whole data for the month is done.
True. Were your parents pretty strict? Like, were you allowed to go to parties and stuff?
Not really, but my parents, their perception of parties were a little bit different. They
Okay.
thought that after grad was dry to this day. So they,
Sorry, mom.
so I used to be the one who drives to parties because
Oh wow.
I didn't drink anything, and I
Did
still
you
don't
go to
drink.
any parties
I was
that I
one
was
or
at in
two.
grade 12?
Nah, probably not. I was only at like one or two because my weekends were all for making videos. And,
Yeah.
And
Dedication.
and back then, and I'd say grade 12, I was like trying to be in that group, but kind of the outside of it, so you'd get taken advantage of, but you're not invited to anything, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like after high school, it's like I don't really care about that anymore. But
stupid.
yeah, it was. I still don't drink, and it's probably
Good.
because I didn't have that immunity. I should, because all these events are free drinks. But
I know,
instead
that's true. That's true.
Every
I will
event.
take a champagne glass, if I'm at an event because I know it's going to be really good.
I'd go full red.
Oh, really?
At least you're half, so you probably have better immunity.
Yeah,
than
I
do.
definitely get a little Asian flesh, but I'm quite
I
lightweight
go
as
full
well.
red.
Really?
I can't do it. So I do the water, and then instead I'll run up the bill in the food.
Oh no, that's good too. That's good. Oh my God, once we were at this, me and like some of my entrepreneur friends were called in to do this like advising project thing for McCann Erickson and like Chevrolet or something. And we were all like hanging out at night in one of our friends' hotel rooms. And we were like, how much room service can we order? Because McCann was like taking all the charges.
It's hit or miss. Some companies cover it and some don't.
Yeah, some don't.
They
which
don't tell
pisses
you
me
what's
off.
covered though sometimes. So
Really?
it's a gamble.
Yeah, you find out when you arrive, and they're like, "Can we have your credit card, please?" And so we ordered. It filled the entire room, just rows of tables of food. It was so excessive.
Post it on the Instagram story and the
I
rap season.
still have a photo of it somewhere. I need to find it. It was so excessive. But yeah, how do you have a lot of friends? Kind of, are they more in the tech YouTuber space, or do you have any more like entrepreneur friends, or like what would you say are your main friend groups?
I do keep a very like small circle like locally, but like online we always like chat. But I would say the ones that I'm closest with are outside of tech, just because I would say I'm a little bit of a tech outsider as well. Like I review tech and I know tech, and we see everybody at these events and we hang out with them, but at heart, I kind of like a lot of different things. Other than that, like we like cars, we like to watch sports and all that kind of stuff. And if there's some friends who are a little bit creative, I don't have that many like entrepreneurial friends aside from a buddy who lives in the same building upstairs. But yeah, for the most part, it's some guys in film. So we'll a lot of times just come together. And whenever I pick somebody to come travel with me, if it's not the in-house, the buddy who works full time, it'll just be like whoever I think I can hang out with and I can trust as a videographer, and whoever has like the best dynamic. They don't necessarily have to be like a filmmaker or anything. So these trips we try to just keep it as light as possible. And yeah, the whole thing about ordering food, it's hard. It's like there was one trip I remember every single day I was like jet lagged, so I didn't eat the breakfast. And on the very last day,
I always miss the breakfast at hotels. It's like a rare moment if I.
But on the
actually
last
make it.
day, I was like, before I get on my flight, I'm just gonna eat whatever I didn't get to eat the last 3 days. Ordered like 4 different things, and when I was about to go bill it to the room, they're like, the company's already checked out, so you have to pay for it. So it was a nice $100 bill for breakfast. Yeah, these trips are like yours look like a lot of fun. The destinations look more, they're all over. Like what are just like off the top of your head? What's a list of places that you've been able to go to?
My favorite place I've been in the whole world is the Arctic. I was able to go for 2 weeks on this icebreaker ship as part of Canada's 150th anniversary. It was called Canada C3. That changed my life. I became a different person. That was a couple summers ago. And I actually was also invited. it was supposed to happen this Christmas and next Christmas, but now the cruises aren't going to happen this year. But in 2021, going into 2022, I will be on this very nice cruise ship with Abercrombie and Kent, I believe, heading their children's program. And it's this cruise that goes to the Antarctic.
Really?
And I am beyond so excited. It's like so hard to go to the Antarctic or the Arctic. It's super, super expensive usually. So I'm really, really excited. But going to the Arctic, meeting all those people, seeing the most remote communities and parts of Canada was just such an amazing experience. And I got to talk to some of the local schools there as well. Recently I went to Hawaii, which was so amazing because Elvis loved Hawaii and I'm obsessed with Elvis. And I was invited to go to Honolulu where he would go all the time filming or with just vacation with his family. I was invited to Honolulu on Elvis's death anniversary last summer. So I was like, that's a sign from Elvis. So anyways, this is a very emotional time. And I brought my boyfriend and I spoke at this conference and it was so much fun. And then I also went to Dubai this past September. I also went to Dubai this past December to speak at like this Royal Transport weird conference. I really don't know. My friend Erin very kindly suggested me as part of this young entrepreneur panel. So we went. It was so excessive. It was an amazing experience. And I actually have some cousins in Dubai, so that was really fun to see them. And then I also went to Switzerland right before, I think in February, right before everything hit, to speak at a private school there. That was really cool. Where else have I gone? I've spoken in Berlin a few times, gone to London to speak, all over America and Canada. Oh, Argentina and Chile, I also really, really love. I really want to go to Japan so badly. Have you been?
Went last year.
What is it like?
It was probably one of my favorite trips, but it was 4 cities in 4 days. And,
oh my God.
I also booked the wrong flight day, forgetting that there's a 13-hour time change. So it's so stupid for doing that. I also booked the wrong airport. So nobody told me to book the middle airport.
You need a travel agent.
I went straight to Narita and it was like a train to here and there, but it was a really nice trip. And I think Japan is always somewhere special. You always hear about how nice it is, and beyond the food and everything, I think just the people, a lot of places you go in Europe, it feels very touristy. Whereas in Japan, you feel like you're integrated in society, and people just they don't even notice you're there, but the way they live life is so different, I think, in a good way.
Yeah.
So that was I think that and Switzerland was my favorite trip last year. Switzerland is easily one of the nicest places I've been to or seen.
So clean.
Yeah, and expensive.
The
food is expensive and I think we got a speeding ticket there, but it hasn't arrived yet.
Hasn't arrived yet.
I heard it sometimes takes a long time, where it's the next time you enter. I was 90% sure it was us because it was in a tunnel and there's different speed changes, and apparently they're really strict on that. And we had a rental car, and we're in the tunnel, and there was 3 cars, and we were definitely still on the speed limit of the last tunnel, but it was 40 lower for this one. We didn't see it, and we saw a big flash. And,
they caught you?
Yeah, so I don't know I don't know if it was us or if it went to the rental company or whatever it was.
Oh my God, the rental company.
Which part of Switzerland did you go to? Was it Geneva or Lucerne or Zurich?
Zurich. I went to Zurich.
It's boring there.
Oh my God, really?
You got to drive 2 hours out to find some stuff.
I went to the Lindt chocolate factory. So that was fun. But yeah, I only was there for a few days, but yeah, I miss traveling a lot, but obviously at this time it's not very safe to do.
Yeah.
And I don't really have a purpose. Usually it's very rare that I've booked a trip for fun.
Yeah, for sure.
It barely happens. And if I do go, it's to San Francisco, it's not far. Mostly all the traveling I've been able to do, I'm very lucky to do, is for work, which is wonderful. Yeah,
and a lot of times if you have some time, which rarely happens, but you try to you're I'm going to extend that trip, but then you get called to somewhere else. So one question I had was, how much notice do you get on these trips? Is your agent kind of you got to go to this place in 5 days? Are you able to add this into your schedule? Are you able to go direct kind of thing?
Yeah, it really depends. Some things entertainment wise can pop up really quickly like this. And you just have to be ready to go and clear your schedule and do it. And some things, the Zurich school that I spoke at have been trying for years to get me to come. It just depends on the schedule and the budget and all these different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nowadays with Zoom calls, I have to be very flexible with my schedule to hop on a Zoom call at any moment. But that's probably right now the most relevant experience I have. But yeah, I've definitely never really had like, you need to be there overnight experience. Maybe it's different for like tech and YouTube stuff.
It's like a couple days. The worst is when we're like in New York already and we're packed for a New York trip, and they're like, you got to go to Milan in 5 days.
You told me about this experience.
So I was like, we already have our flights booked back. We can't really have Milan or New York to Milan because we have to edit some of the stuff from this trip. So we would come back, unpack, and then the following Monday, we would fly out again. And it's usually a 3 a.m. flight to get to Vancouver so that you have an open schedule to pick your flight from there to wherever you go. It's good and bad, though, because I also don't like committing to stuff like weeks and months in advance because you're like, my schedule's open. But then it comes up and you're like, this is at the worst possible time.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're...
And it's like just right in the middle. So
that's true.
It's...
Yeah, usually I find out like a month or a few weeks before.
Yeah.
I remember one time a couple of years ago, I went to Toronto to give this talk, but on my way to get the talk, I got a sinus infection, and it was the most physically like painful talk I could have ever given. It was horrible. But then I was supposed to fly back to UBC, be there for like 3 or 4 days, and then fly back again to Toronto to film this Google Pixel thing. So I ended up staying because I couldn't fly with a sinus infection. You should not fly.
Yeah.
So I ended up staying in this very like luxurious like hotel apartment thing that Vice had gotten me over like the whole weekend, just like on my sinus medication. And then I ended up staying like 2 weeks in Toronto. Like things like that will happen, especially when you're sick. Things can come up, but yeah.
So like for a lot of the travel, it's to do with speaking. So what are some of the big conferences that you've done in the past, and what is the largest crowd you've ever had to speak to?
I don't know what the largest crowd I've ever had to speak to is.
Over 10,000 or like an arena full or?
Man, I don't know. Definitely a few thousand, like 3, 4, 5,000. Yeah. I don't really count or like think about that either way. It's just kind of like, I'm going on stage and I'm going to talk.
Do you prefer a large or small? Because I mean, small audience, if you're close to them, you feel like everybody's staring at you. But then if you have 3,000, and a lot of times, like I only remember this from like the high school or the elementary school stage. But when you look out to the stage, the lights are coming down that way that you don't really see. Like it feels like everybody else is very distant from the stage.
You don't really see everyone. And I don't know. I'm fine with a larger crowd. I don't know how I would do with like an arena because I just haven't had that experience. But most of the time I'm very lucky, knock on wood, to not get stage fright. Or my heart will start going very fast right before I go on stage, and when I go on stage it calms down for some reason. I try not to overthink things and be like, oh my God, I'm going on the stage by myself. I have to handle this audience. I have to host them. I don't really think that. I think kind of like, I know my story. I know what I'm talking about because it's literally me and my life or whatever the client has requested.
Yeah.
And
do you like write out a script, or do you do like bullet points?
No, nothing.
On the fly.
I mean, I make my slides and I'll change them for each talk a little bit.
Yeah.
But the standard story that I tell about my life growing up inventing is the same. Sometimes I add things in depending who the audience is. If it's parents, if they want to know, but how do I make my kid like you? Which they shouldn't. Things like that. Then I'll alter it. But pretty much, I just think about what I'm going to say and like what I feel in that moment feels right to tell the audience. And I'm not an expert in anything really. So it's whatever I feel in the moment or the night before or hours before when I'm making my slides. This is what I want to talk about today. When I started speaking really early on, when I was 15, 16, 17, I would write scripts out. But I couldn't memorize them. It's like pages, when you're talking 20, 30, 40 minutes.
And it just gets delivered differently. Like even if you're the one who wrote it and the kind of context is the same, but the struggle is always like, what if I get on stage and I forget what to say? And I always go on like long tangents, but I find like the medium of where you're presenting your stuff is a huge factor. Like if it's like a live podcast stream, it just feels more casual and you find you have a better flow. Whereas like some of our podcast episodes when we're like extremely tired are just not good, and then some of our video A-rolls are just terrible because it's like our second one that day, and I feel like exhausted. The medium is everything.
Yeah, that's why it's good we film this in the morning because our energy is better. in my
Is
opinion.
it?
Is it?
Had my coffee, so it's.
I've been off coffee for this past month. I can't
need to
believe I'm
stop it.
alive.
I can go 2 months without it, but
Yeah.
then I'm kind of like I'm so tired right now, and like so much stuff to do that like why take away the one thing that
Helps
gets
you.
me a little bit excited in the morning?
Yeah.
No,
Usually I drink it every day now in New York.
New York, you guys got way better choices than here. I'm still
True.
on the Starbucks thing, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's I tried to make my own coffee, but it's just not satisfying when it doesn't taste any better than
Like,
Starbucks.
why did I spend so much time on this?
And if I make my coffee at home,
Yeah.
I don't leave the house for the whole day. At least the Starbucks is like a 1 minute walk, and then
getting
coming
out
back
of the
kind of
house
thing.
is so important. My God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the things I speak at it ranges. It could be like an actual like tech event like Singularity University, which is so great. And to just like learn about what the future holds. Then it'll be like private events for a bank. It might be high schools or like parents or middle schools, junior schools. It can be a lot of young entrepreneur or like university level master degree people, which I was like, I spoke in Saudi Arabia to all these like master students, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So it really just depends. Very open. You could give me the phone book and I'll talk about it. I can talk about anything.
You also did the energy. Was it the energy one with Nico Rosberg?
Oh yes, last June I went, or maybe it was last May, I went to the Green Tech Festival, which Nico Rosberg, the race car driver,
Formula One champion 2016.
Yes.
I'm
Justin's
a
a
huge
big fan.
Formula One nerd. Yeah.
He runs this thing called the Green Tech Festival, which exhibits all these amazing companies and brands that are doing eco-friendly products.
Yeah.
And then, or more than products, like cars, tech, and we saw like drones flying, all these crazy stuff. And then there's a conference happening alongside of that I spoke at. And then also there's the Green Awards that he also has now combined with that, and I got an award there. And then also he has the Formula E. Is it the Formula E?
So there's the Formula One, which is like the big race cars, and then there's the electric series.
Cars. Yeah. So I actually slept through the race, but
Did you attend one of them?
I meant to, but I slept through it.
I did the Montreal one. I think
nice.
The Montreal one was the one we went to in 2018. I never got invited back because I was terribly underdressed for.
Really? Do they care about that?
I didn't know like the magnitude of the sport. I didn't know it was such a fancy sport, and I was 18 at the time, 18 or 19, and I got invited like very last minute.
Mm-hmm.
So like everybody was in like a suit and like the paddock. I didn't know the pass was like worth thousands of dollars, and there was like Kate Upton sitting 5 feet away.
Now you must regret it.
I was in like shorts, a UVic hoodie, and some zebra Yeezys. So like
that's a luck.
My parents still make fun of me about like how badly I messed that up, but it was still probably the best trip to date. So the Formula E series is cool, but a true racing fan is always into the Formula One. And
I guess I'm not into racing as much.
I wasn't at the time
like
either.
it.
Like I didn't even see any. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the sport existed actually.
I think if I watched the race, I would have really enjoyed it. It's just that I had a sinus infection, so I was feeling super crappy. Benedict came with me to the whole thing because whenever I have events in Berlin, he always comes, which is very sweet of him, and we always have a lot of fun. But Benedict's another one of our classmates.
My buddy Abdul's roommate, I think.
I forgot.
Yeah, he used to come and hang out a lot. I was also going to ask you about Jimmy Fallon. Was that after high school or?
There was two. So I went once during high school, during grade 11.
Yeah.
And then there was once I went right after high school in first year.
The funny thing is actually, I didn't know you were on the show until I was subscribed to Jimmy Fallon, and then I see like the highlights that pop up on his YouTube channel, and I was like, wait, she was on Jimmy Fallon. And they did like was it by GE?
GE was sponsoring it. And yeah, the first time I presented the flashlight, the second time I presented the e-drink. So my goal is I will be able to come back and present the toy line once it's finally out. But yeah, the first time I went on it in grade 11, I didn't have contacts yet, so I went on completely blind. My vision is negative 4.25 on both eyes. So that means
that's not that bad.
No, if you anything farther than this, I cannot see.
Really?
It's so bad.
I think I'm like -3, but
yeah. So
I feel like I just can't read anything like over there kind of thing, but it's
everything
not like,
there would be
it's not to
blurry.
the point to like right here. So maybe
No,
we have a different,
yeah, maybe different eye shapes or whatever. But anything past here is blurry for me. So that was my first experience, and then the second experience was also a lot of fun. I mean, they were both a lot of fun for sure. But the second time, because I could see, it felt a little better because I had contacts by that point. And yeah, I mean, Jimmy Fallon's such a great guy. Everyone backstage also is so nice and like remembered me, and it was a great time.
So what's like the process for going on a show like that? Like they take you weren't living in New York at the time. So
no, so they bring you out there and they put you in a hotel, everything standard like that, and then you show up earlier in the day before taping to just like that there's some person that meets you, and they like, at least I had to wear like a lab coat during it, so like they fit you for that, and then they brief you on what's happening. You maybe run through it with one of Jimmy's guys or like script writers or whatever that basically talks like Jimmy exactly, except it's not him. Yeah. And then you just wait backstage until it's your turn. They mic you up and then you go on. And there's like a small studio audience there. But yeah, it was a fun experience. I was probably more nervous for that, for sure. Yeah.
So the first time you meet Jimmy, is it live on stage or
no?
Do
We
do
met
like
him. I think the first time we met him during rehearsal as well. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I think we ran. Actually, no, we might have ran it through first rehearsal with him. Just because some of the kids going on like really didn't have any media, TV experience. They're really young kids that also go on that segment. But I had, some experience, so I think they're more comfortable.
Yeah, because like, like with reality shows, it seems like everything runs so smoothly and everybody's very natural on camera. And the time I noticed the most that like most people in society are not built or immune to be on camera, and they're just completely different. Even people who I thought were like really good talkers. It's like
something
even the podcast
about the camera shuts people down. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like feeling very self-conscious all of a sudden, like, oh my God, everyone's. So you can't worry about that.
It's like the full personality changes, but it's hard to describe. Like you have to talk a certain way, don't think too much about it. But obviously, like because we both done, I've done YouTube, you've done
YouTube for so
long. I mean,
you've
done the stage stuff, which is the real hard stuff. It's hard to explain to somebody like just don't think too much about it, or
because then they'll start thinking like I can't think too much.
Oh, there was some like setup makeovers where we just find a random person or a friend to be on camera, and we'll go out, we'll film their setup and redo it and everything.
Like their filming setup?
Like their office desk. Like if it's a huge mess, we'll go in there and just like clean up the whole thing.
Oh my God. One day when I have a place in New York, you should come and do
100%. Yeah, we could do like because we've done desks too many times now. Yeah. But if there was like a science setup or like a workspace or that kind of thing, I think that would be a cool one to do. And especially a traveling one. We've never done a travel one just because of logistics. You never know, like these viewers are young and their parents maybe don't want a YouTuber in their house, and it's just too like the RO.
Oh, you do it for viewers.
We want to, but there's a lot of barriers that have kept us from doing it. Just because like say we have a deadline or it's just not worth it. But if we know who we're doing it for, then it's much easier to coordinate and everything. So that's definitely something that you just gave me a new idea.
Yes.
But yeah, people are kind of awkward on camera. Like either they don't move their hands or we have to leave the room completely and hide in the corner. Otherwise they're gonna get stage fright. So on those shows I'm always like, wow, it always runs so smoothly. But I know there's like a whole
reality shows, you mean?
Yeah, like process behind it, or even like the Jimmy Fallon thing. Like it seemed like it ran very naturally. Like do you have two takes sometimes? Like
no, it's just one because it's a live audience.
Really?
So you just go on and you do it.
So the laughing is real.
The laughing is real. I mean, maybe I don't know if there's instructions to laugh, but I think it's real. I saw the people there, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe if it's it depends because like with guests who are like actual celebs on talk shows, they're very comfortable usually in front of camera already, so they just go on, they do their bit, and then they leave. For my segment in particular with GE, because we were bringing on really, really young kids that didn't have like very serious inventions, but they were like funny, they might have to do several takes, but I don't know because I wasn't really watching. I was just like did my thing and then I was done.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I also want to ask about like, so time in Forbes 30 under 30. That's a huge list. It's universally known, and we see it all the time.
I have a new one coming out in August and in September.
Yeah, but it's like it's big. Like we see it on Twitter, and that list is like people that we all like. Most people on the list we know about. Like they're celebrities, like either in sports or in like acting, media, and in business. So what was like kind of the process with that? Is there like an application? Did they reach out? Is there nominations? And
honestly, when I was named Times Magazine's 30 under 30, I was in grade 12, I think. And it was right during the day of the Christmas gala that we always had downtown.
Which I never went to.
Oh my God, no.
I didn't even know they existed.
It was so fun, the dancing. And I just have, well, my diaries anyways have great memories from it. And then people were being like, oh, congratulations. On like times, like Mr. Snowden said, like, congrats. And then my semi-parents that are not really parents, but Heidi and Gary in San Francisco that I met through doing the Google Science Fair, like, congrats on Times 30. And I didn't know what it was. I literally was like, oh, cool, another award thing. Like, I didn't even bother to read the article because I was like, okay,
so you had
cool.
no idea?
I had no idea that these lists
Really?
existed in high school. Like, nobody really talked about that in high school, I guess. Now maybe millennial people in high school do. But I didn't know. And then I realized, oh, it's kind of a big deal, so I should add it to my bio. So now I'm very thankful that I got that. I'm very honored that they even thought of me. And then after that, after grade 12, I started meeting a lot more entrepreneur friends, and a lot of them had Forbes 30 under 30, and they could all go to the Forbes under 30 conference for free if you're a Forbes under 30. So I became like, oh my God, I want to get Forbes under 30 so I can go to the conference with them. And then I didn't get it for a couple of years, but then I think in second year uni, I woke up and they told me I'd be nominated by someone, and they wanted a bit more of my bio and stuff. And then I woke up and then it'd be announced that I was on it a few months later or whenever. So that one, there was some sort of process. So like as a Forbes under 30 now in the category of energy, they can ask me to nominate people that are also working in specifically the category of energy. So yeah, that was nice. I just got really lucky getting those. Growing up, I never really heard of these titles or thought about them at all, but obviously it's been a huge honor to receive them. And then this podcast probably won't come out for a couple weeks, right? At least.
We'll try to push it a little bit.
So I'm also getting named I just found out like a month ago now, I guess. I'm also getting named to Entrepreneurs. There's a magazine called Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm getting named to their Young Millionaires list, which is probably the most obnoxious list or title I could ever get. So now I have to earn a lot of money to catch up to that. But that's something new that's coming out, I think it's September 1st.
Yeah, because I saw the list a lot like before, and I always clicked on it, but then usually you're like, well, it's athletes on the top, and I think it's really cool that someone in the in
science,
this category.
I'm glad they're doing more science people.
Yeah. But it's interesting to hear that you had no idea, because I know like they have like the YouTube channel, they'll do like behind the scenes, and it seems like there's a whole press tour. They're shooting like Kylie Jenner's cover, and then eventually there's
for the big celebs, they'll
like,
do
about
stuff.
like the billionaire thing, and all the processes involved, and they have to do their research and stuff. So I wasn't sure if Time and Forbes is one where like I know they have like nominations and there's like a circle and they do their research and everything, but I wasn't sure if it was one where they'll have like a formal process of like can you show us this, can you come and do like a cover shoot or this and that, or
one day I'll do cover shoot. No,
you also did like was it Popular Science?
Popular Science, put me as Inventor of the Year, which was really kind of them. I went over to the headquarters in New York a while ago, and they were all really sweet there. Teen Vogue put me, I think in first year uni, they named me as one of like their eco earth angels, and I went and did like a photo shoot in New York, and it was my first one of my early first photo shoots on like a fancy fashion set, and they put me in this outfit with like weird pointed shoes, and like they were dressing everyone in green because we're eco earth angels, which I think now they could have just put us in normal like cool clothes. Why did it have to be green, but like
Vogue.
I know, but like I get it, but I look like such like a weird fetus rat in the photo. I'm like posing like this. It's so weird, but it's just fun to see like looking back on your videos or pictures or things you did 5 years ago versus now. You're like, oh my God, I was so lame.
Year ago, it's like
I know, we get so embarrassed by our past selves, but I think that's good because that means we're growing,
At least at this age, we know not to delete the very old stuff.
We just archive it.
Or try to upload more so nobody sees the last video kind of thing. Yeah, but New York just seems like the creative hub of the world, all the publications. Like, I mean, I've had mixed thoughts of New York. I'm still not sure if I like it because we have to go to New York more than anything else. But every single one of my trips were one day.
Oh, no.
But I definitely sensed that creatively, it was definitely the hub, and in the publication world, like in my case, we're working online, so there's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
a
yeah.
big difference. It would just save me on travel time to be out in the East Coast.
Well, also networking, I feel like too, with a lot of other tech
I'm
YouTubers.
beyond introvert. Like I literally don't leave the house. I just like,
I'm usually exactly the same.
Victoria might be a factor as well. Like there's not too much to do here, so you just stay at home and try to work on what you can, and then when you travel, you kind of just come back to your home base where it's nice and quiet. Wherever the home base is, New York is definitely not quiet. Traffic and everything. But yeah, I think how long have you been living in New York?
So what happened was, okay, so I did 3 years at UBC. Last year in 2018, or 2 years ago, I came back to Victoria to do 1 year in UVic. And then that year was fine. I walked to school every day, did my film classes, it was great. And then I really wanted to do something that pushed me outside of my comfort zone, because the last time I'd really had that experience was when I went to the Arctic. And obviously I couldn't go to the Arctic again, but I was like, what is something that challenges me or makes me really uncomfortable? And I realized acting classes, because I did an acting class at UVic. I got such a bad grade in it because I wasn't there half the time, but also because I was really embarrassed most of the time.
Was it the 3-hour class
It was
in the evening?
I think it was in the afternoon, but it was like 3 hours in the drama department.
Oh, I may have taken that.
Did you take it?
I didn't do anything. I heard it was easy, so I took it.
Yeah,
but I didn't do
yeah.
any acting. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I have mixed feelings about that class. But basically I was like, I get so red and so flustered and so embarrassed doing this class. What is wrong with me? Why can't I do silly things in front of people? Because I'm usually so put together for speaking and interviews, So I decided, okay, I'm going to look. New York is obviously the place to go to study acting. My manager is also in New York. She has interns, and I could work on the toys with these interns and her as well. So I was looking at acting studios in New York. They're all very expensive. And then I found out that this really old studio called HB Studios had a bunch of my favorite actors that used to study there back in the 70s and 60s, like Gene Wilder, all these people. So I decided to go audition for that. I got into their summer intensive program, which was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 6 weeks. And I really had done no acting since high school when we did the plays. Were you in The Secret Garden?
No, I actually got in trouble for being the only kid in middle school who didn't volunteer and had a blank record of achievement on a year that had a play.
Oh my God.
It was the year I started YouTube.
Okay,
and
I
I got called in the principal's office, and the YouTube was not exactly a satisfying explanation.
Now
for him.
it would be.
Yeah, but at the time it was just it was just, I don't know.
Mr. Abrio
wasn't too happy about it. He was like, "Are you okay with having a blank record of achievement?" I was like, "I really don't.
I'm okay."
I couldn't care less." But it did look pretty bad. I wonder if it's probably somewhere in one of those cabinets. But it was literally blank. They just didn't save the school some ink.
That's so funny. Oh my God. Anyways, I did a lot of the plays in high school. In grade 12, I also dropped strings class and did drama class because I'd been begging my parents to, because orchestra in the morning. I can't believe I did that voluntarily for so many years. It's torture. I don't want to get up at 7:15 or 6 o'clock or whatever.
I remember that. Yeah, orchestra. Yeah. I switched to band, but I don't remember if there was a morning
band.
Practice.
There was a morning practice too, jazz band or whatever. You didn't go.
I may not have gone.
Yeah. Anyways, so I signed up. So last June 2019, I went to New York. Basically, after the Green Tech Festival in Berlin, I flew directly to New York. I was subletting a room in Stuytown, which is in East Village, and I started going to these acting classes. And I quickly learned you need to shed all self-conscious, anything worrying about other people perceiving you, and just do whatever the teacher asks you. So, the first week we were rolling on the floor with a stranger while still needing to touch them and making weird sounds, all these sort of weird things. So it really just pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and I met so many great people that summer and my boyfriend, and it just really just taught me not to care that much about things and just to be in the moment. Basically, that's such an actor thing to say. I'm sorry.
No, I think Jay, when he was here, he was talking about a book that he read, and he says there's sensory practices where you're laying on the floor and you have nothing to distract you, and you have to be able to do things like cry on demand by thinking of certain things, but you're essentially shedding every other thing you're thinking in your head and putting a scenario in that is, I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining it, but he said the book trains the sensory side of things that
I need to get that book.
Yeah, it's we'll have to ask him which one it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I know with acting, I always wonder how people do it because no matter how hard I try to do it on YouTube, it's like kind of well, it's a little bit more awkward. You just gotta, which is why the podcast is one where just like really casual and all that. Probably swear a little bit too much on some episodes. But just to wrap things up, what's next in terms of like the science side of things? Obviously, you mentioned the TV and the toys. So what's kind of next? And what are like maybe some science things that you're working on that you are allowed to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the main things going on right now in my life, if I was to outline everything, is I'm trying to get my O1 visa so I don't have to rely on a student visa for the States. That's a big focus right now. And then I'm taking my 7 online acting classes right now to keep my F1 visa so I can return into the States. And then separately, I have the children's toys right now, which we are tweaking a bit, but I have worked for over a year and a half now on the line and developing them. So like the ideas are pretty solid. Yeah. The next step is for a toy company to pick it up and for me to start working with the designers there. And then so like that I don't really need to like focus on as much right now because we're just waiting to hear back.
Yeah. And with corporate, it's a long process.
It's a long
Everything takes
process.
a long time.
It's a long process.
We're not used to working on stuff for years, but I know like a year, and you mentioned the patent took many years of paperwork, expenses,
it's literally the worst,
and all that. And then there's always like things that anything lawyer related is just very
big
painful.
Money suck.
And like in your case, it's much more complex. Mine is just like trying to buy property, and that alone was like trying to, I don't know, it was. But so when do you think? Like if you had to make an estimate, when do you think the product is going to be like on the shelves?
I would say it would be another 2 years.
2 years.
Maybe not a year. It would be nice if it was like a year from now, but who knows? I really cannot say. It really just depends on everything. I would hope by 2 years to have something on the shelf.
But the patent is
solid, yeah. And then the other thing that we are really focusing on as well, especially right in this moment, is pitching to all these different TV companies. We have some people who are interested who might offer like an overall deal, which would be great, but we really don't know, we're still like weighing our options and seeing who would be best, especially for the ideas that I've come up with. And a lot of them hit close to home because a lot of them are based off my younger life. Maybe filming at SMU would be such a cathartic experience, like to come back and like recreate my high school experience.
They would charge us.
They would.
They did get 1 million views on their YouTube channel.
From me.
Yeah.
From me.
Royalties? AdSense royalties?
I don't know if they even had AdSense. They probably, maybe. But yeah, so hopefully getting some TV show picked up would be amazing, and that would be kind of my first step into the film TV world. And then from there, in my own private time, I'm starting to like learn how to write scripts, and like I want to write a pilot episode the next few months for an idea I've had, and so many things. So it's kind of like throwing all these things in the air that I've worked really hard on and hoping someone grabs onto it, So yeah, it's a risky business. I could just get my degree and settle down in Victoria, but I feel an innate need to pursue these things right now at this moment.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And
it's been a pleasure catching up.
Do you have anything to say to the audience? Any final words?
Go follow me on Instagram at Ann Makosinski.
We'll put that in the beginning. Otherwise,
I'll put that in the beginning too. But yes, hello. I don't know. Thank you for listening. If you've listened this far, I'm very shocked because my voice is annoying. But no, Justin is a great host. I hope you keep watching his podcasts, and he puts a lot of work into them.
Thanks so much for coming on, and I hope you guys. I hope the B cam is fine because it's our first time using it, and I'm just going to say for the video's sake that we spent $13,000 for the B-Cam just for you guys, just for the few of you that complained in the comment section of us not having a B-Cam.
That's pretty good.
We didn't buy it for YouTube at all. It was just for the podcast. So
wow.
Make sure you drop a like, download it, and we'll see you guys in the next episode of the Feature Podcast, and hopefully it isn't like 2 months down the road.
Bye.